Greetings, my fellow colonizers. If you can tell, I have colonized my parents' basement, and that's where I'm doing Speechless today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Okay, so I know this is a little unorthodox. I am not in the studio. I am here at home, and I want to thank each and every one of you for still joining. I know the production quality might be a little different than when I'm in the studio, but I got my camera, I got my mic, and let's be honest, that's all I really need. What I would love is for you guys to blow up the comments section today, and right now blow it up, letting me know if you can hear me, if you can hear me clearly. I want to make sure that everything is working. So please let me know. I see some great friends in the comments here. We got Oklahoma Chicken Cam, who never fails to miss a stream or to be at a stream. He never misses a stream. So love you, Oklahoma Chicken Cam. Andrea's here. Yes, my fellow colonizers, we are here today. Please let me know, like I said in the comments, make sure you guys can hear me. If you can see me good enough, everything like that. Awesome. Wonderful. So happy you guys can hear me. Obviously, I got a different mic here. And so happy you guys can be joining me on this Thanksgiving Sunday. I want to give each and every one of you guys thanks for being here, for watching, for continuously supporting me, because this is what so I'm going to be going back to school tomorrow. And I'll be at the studio for a little bit, but this is what Speechless will look like. I'm going to keep investing and making it bigger and better than ever. I plan on going to law school next fall, so there will be another change of scenery then. But getting to know how to make my own studio is something I'm working on. And so I'm doing that from home because that's where I'll be living while working in the next few months at post-graduation from college. But if this is your first time joining in, or if you haven't been here in a while, here is a quick reminder. I am your host, Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student from Illinois State University, soon to be graduate with a degree in marketing and a degree in political science. And I'm always happy to be bringing you guys some amazing news and content. I did pre-record my radio show today, so this is not airing live on the radio right now, but a lot of the content is. But that means I can be a lot more interactive with you guys. And so hopefully my internet doesn't go out. Hopefully I keep a strong connection and everything like that. Because again, my parents don't know anything about streaming, anything like that. And so I just do my best with what I have. Another thing I want to make sure I do is I'm going to invite everybody. I'm going to put it in the comment section here right now. If at any point you want to be involved in the conversation, I know I usually have my tie line at 309-451-9299. And while you can always text that line, and I still get those texts right here to my phone, and I'll still be checking it. This is the comment that I just sent is how you can join the stream today if you have anything to add. And before we get into the stories too, last thing I want to mention is don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, and share it with your friends. But I got a lot of stories, and since I'm not on the radio, minimal to no breaks, and I can just keep going forward. And if anything, might even go longer than usual today. Who knows? But let's get into this right now. So I want to start off. Thanksgiving, everybody. Like I said, the colonizers. I'm back home. I've colonized my parents' basement. But everybody, or a lot of lefties, try to make Thanksgiving all about, oh my gosh, those dreaded British and the white people that came over here, the genocide of the Native American people. That's what you're celebrating on Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to get into that. It's not worth my time at all. We know. The people that are watching, we know what it's about, what Thanksgiving really is about. And even if you want to make the argument of colonizers, white people, bad, all that kind of crap, what's so bad about having a day where you give thanks, where you show your appreciation for the people around you, for the things you have, for the privileges, and I know that's a scary word to some conservative, but genuinely the privileges that we enjoy in this nation, the greatest nation on the face of the planet. And I want to go back to that word. Like Jen Psaki always said, we're going to circle back to privilege. Now, to the left, I am one of the most privileged people in the world, and I wouldn't disagree with them, but I would disagree with their premise. To the left, I'm one of the most privileged people in the world because I'm straight. Despite what some people call me, I am straight. I'm white. I'm Irish. Very pale. You can tell, minimal melanin. And I'm a man. So I'm the most privileged person in the world to the left. And like I said, I don't disagree, but it's not because I'm a straight white man, because I'm an evil straight white man. No, it's because I'm an American. I'm an American. America is the greatest nation on the face of this planet, and I benefit from American privilege. And I know I've probably discussed it on this show before. There's hundreds of hours of content, but it's always worth reiterating because I'm thankful to live in this great nation, despite the fact that it's currently being run by elites who couldn't give less of a crap about me or what America is actually supposed to be. I'm privileged to live in this country. I live in a country where, for the most part, we don't have to worry about war, consistent war on our homeland, like Israel. You can come here and pretty much make anything for yourself in this country. As Barack Obama said, I'm going to quote Barack Obama. He said, America is a place where all things are possible. And I 100% agree with that sentiment. America is a place where all things are possible. America is a place where you can come to this country with little to nothing to your name, legally immigrate here, and become a multimillionaire. Now, not only that, America is the only country in the world in which you can move here and become an American. Genuinely. You can genuinely become an American. No other country in the world is like that. I could move to China. I wouldn't, but I could. And I'd never be Chinese. Genuinely. I could get their citizenship, everything. I wouldn't be Chinese. I could move to Egypt. I'd never be Egyptian. Germany. I'd never be German. But anyone can move to America. A German, a Chinese fella, somebody from Egypt, anywhere. You can move to America and become an American. And those are just 3 examples of the privileges that make America the greatest country on the face of the planet and why I feel privileged to be an American. Now, following that, I do want to talk about the elites that have been terrorizing us for plenty of time, and mainly their standards. And as I've consistently said, people on the left and these elites that I discuss, the only standards they really have are double. They have double standards. Out of Fox News on Thanksgiving, Kamala Harris was cooking up a storm. Vice President Kamala Harris faced criticism on social media after sharing a post of her and second gentleman Doug Emhoff posing next to a gas stove on Thanksgiving, despite the Biden administration's proposal earlier this year advocating for the ban of gas stoves. You guys have probably heard about this. The Biden admin and their never-ending fight to address the serious climate crisis we're under. Well, they wanted to ban gas stoves. And so here's Kamala Harris, among other gas appliances as well. But here's Kamala Harris, just the other day. Now, what does that appear to be next to her? A gas stove. Now, here's the thing, is I have no problem with anybody having a gas stove. What I do have a problem with is the people that are trying to tell people like me who want to build a house in the next 10 years or so, likely with gas stoves, because in my personal opinion, they're better, at least in terms of cooking, than an electric stove. People like her telling me that I can't have one, but at the same time, having one herself. That's where the problem lies. And so she cooked. Well, I guarantee you she did not cook any of her Thanksgiving dinner. Maybe a little bit, but I highly doubt she cooked any of her Thanksgiving dinner. But she had a gas stove that was in use for her Thanksgiving dinner. And the Biden administration previously claimed it planned to ban gas stoves after the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission's top leader, Richard Trumka Jr., told Bloomberg, quote, a ban on gas stoves is on the table over health concerns. This is a hidden hazard, he told Bloomberg. Any option is on the table. Products that can't be made safe can be banned. Can be banned. Look, here's the thing. Any product is unsafe if you try hard enough. Just saying. Any product is unsafe if you try hard enough. So a gas stove, that's what you're going to go after. What's been in houses for years and years and years. What about microwaves? Microwaves can be unsafe. The radiation that emits from them. If you put something wrong in there, there's always such thing as user error. For now, the idea of banning gas stoves and appliances has been scrapped, likely due to the negative public opinion behind it. But it was followed by a proposed Department of Energy regulation that would impose tough new energy efficiency standards for gas stoves. The House of Representatives approved an amendment in March of this year with help from several Democrats. I will admit there was bipartisanship on this that would prevent the DOE from implementing strict new regulations on gas stoves that most stoves on the market today would not be able to meet. Also, just a quick tidbit for you is about 38% of American households, about 40 million, use natural gas to cook in their homes. So you'd be going after about 40% of Americans, 40 million Americans. Now, I'm no mathematician, but when you look at the amount of votes that were placed in the last election, I believe it was about 100,000 or 100 million for each candidate. That means you'd probably be going after about a quarter of the entire voting block. I don't know, maybe a fifth. Again, I'm no mathematician. Just an interesting tidbit there for you guys. Kamala Harris, the hypocrite, we all know, and none of us love. Gas stoves for me, but not for thee. That's what she says. Gas stoves for me, but not for thee. Let's see what we got. I got other stories I want to get to here, but I want to make sure I'm addressing all my amazing people that are in the comment sections. Those that are here. I see some funny comments. Zach, who has been on my show before, Zach Strange Corners of Thought. You guys can check him out if you would like. He is a progressive. He identifies as such, even a socialist. And he says, I'm a person of no color. I love it. I'm going to start using that. Kev, the person of no color. I'll make a t-shirt out of it. I love that. Scoot, thanks for joining. I haven't been talking about this, but I will, I might get into that a little bit later. I'm gay and there's nothing wrong with that. Are not grooming kids or sexualizing children. Okay, we can agree to disagree. But God bless you, Scoot, and thanks for joining. Kev, the colorless colonizer. Yes, that's me. Thanks for joining. Demon Gorl, who isn't real. Let's see what else we got here. Andrea, always love to see Andrea here. She is married, but to her white, as Ty Smith would say, white oppressor. Yeah, she is. Doug Emhoff, white guy. Oh my gosh. Okay. So again, thank you guys so much for joining. Keep that comment section rolling. I got my Jesus is King shirt here today because that is the ultimate privilege, is being in Jesus's kingdom. And I hope to be there one day. But let's keep going. I want to also wish Chris Christie, I hope he had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm sure it is his favorite holiday of the year because that man could probably eat more than anyone I know. So Chris Christie, while I consider Chris Christie as like the Grinch, the Grinch of Thanksgiving. He is. Hear me out on this. Chris Christie is the Grinch of Thanksgiving because, as we all know, at the end of the Grinch, they say, I don't remember how much it is, but the Grinch's heart grows a few sizes by the end of it, from like this little itty bitty shriveled up thing to a full heart. Well, that is Chris Christie on Thanksgiving, except for it's his belly. Yep. Chris Christie's belly grew 5 inches that day or whatever. His waistline. Chris Christie, happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful that you never cease to be a punchline. So thank you, Chris Christie, for that. And once again, I want to thank each and every one of you. Give my thanks to you for being such supporters of this channel. All right, I want to get into this one now. There's a few things when it comes to the Macy's Day Parade. And just Thanksgiving. I'm going to more and more leftist crap from Thanksgiving. I want to share this girl, and I can play the full thing and not have to worry about the radio because I'm not on the radio right now. I had to edit this clip for the radio, but let's take a listen to this girl who made some interesting comments about what she was going to do at Thanksgiving. Let's take a look and a listen to this.
This Thanksgiving, I am personally giving thanks that my family is already well aware that I am not a keep the peace girly, and that if they say anything remotely racist, misogynistic, transphobic, or otherwise inflammatory and gross, I will be starting some shit and finishing some shit. What are you grateful for today? This Thanksgiving.
This girl. Well, first off, notice all the different piercings she has. It's just gross to me, in my personal opinion. But that's just my personal opinion, right there. Is that I think it's kind of gross, all the different piercings that she pushes into her face and skull. But what a sad thing that is. What a sad, sad thing that is on a day that is meant to give thanks, thankfulness for health. She mentioned she had parents who raised her to be, as she said, a girl who doesn't take any crap or something like that. Some girl boss. I'm a girl boss. That's the kind of crap she was trying to push. What she's thankful for is that she can speak out against the transphobia, racism, sexist, homophobia, all of them, misogyny, all of the crap. That's what she's thankful for. It reminds me of that JB Pritzker clip. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Probably one of my favorite clips of all time. It's been making its way around the meme verse, and it's JB Pritzker, and it's just him listing all the isms, all the phobias, all of it. And he's like, in Illinois, we stand up to the racism, the sexism, the homophobia, all the crap. All the crap. And that's exactly what this girl did. What a sad, sad way to celebrate Thanksgiving. I wonder, did you guys have anybody like that at your Thanksgiving? Like, did also nobody ever teach this girl? Like, here's a personal story for me. All my family lives kind of across the country right now. I mean, so my parents live up in suburbs of Chicago. I've been living in central Illinois for about 4 years now, so a few hours south. Both my sisters live on the East Coast. I only get to see all my family together a few times a year. Then I have aunts, uncles, cousins, all that. I get the political argument at Thanksgiving trope, and I'm curious if you guys had any. I'd love to hear your stories. I put the link in the comments to join if you would like. I'd love to hear this stuff. I'd love to hear it. But what about the fact that, like, maybe just appreciate, if you genuinely love your family, you want to be around them, which is what I would hope is the case around Thanksgiving, is that you do love your family to an extent that you'd want to share a meal with them. Why not just like tolerate? Like, just tolerate it so you can spend the time. Why make a big fuss? Why be this girl who is just racism, sexism, homophobia? I'm going to stand up to it. I'm going to call it out. Why not just like let your uncle or aunt or whatever, Big Deborah, anybody, just like do their thing and just put up with it for a few hours, because at the end of the night, they're going to be gone. Maybe end of the weekend, they're going to be gone. And you can go back to living your life. It's not like, I guarantee you, this girl, her dad is not a senator. Her uncle's not a senator. Their opinion in the grand scheme of things, what does it really affect? What does it really do? That's just my opinion. That's just where I get in with it. But let's get to, I got a little fly down here, apparently. I just saw that. But let's get into this next story. Now we're going to get into some of the Macy's Day Parade stuff. And I see that we got some fascinating commenters here. Scoot keeps just pushing stuff. I'll respond to this one real quick. Absolutely. Everyone deserves to be tolerated. Everyone deserves to be tolerated to an extent. I don't hate anybody, or I hate very few people, and it's never been because of their sexuality. What I hate is that we have people that are trying to make me have to abide by their logic, which I won't do. I'm not going to say that being gay is 100% okay. It's a sin in God's eyes. I also sin in God's eyes. I'm not perfect. Just saying. Along with that, I am not going to say that men can become women and women can become men, because that is biologically incorrect. It's biologically incorrect. Scoot, I respect you. Scoot, I respect you. In fact, I love you, Scoot. But I am not going to play by your rules. I'm going to play by mine. and those that are laid out in science and logic. But I got to keep going with more stuff, and that kind of ties into this next one. The Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which many people have watched it, loved it. Apparently, the ratings for it were really high this year, at least from the news articles I saw. Could be wrong. We know the fake news tries to push different opinions all the time. But let's start off with this story. A petition calling to boycott Macy's stores and refrain from watching this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade had garnered over 40,500 signatories objecting to the event's apparent transgender agenda. This is out of the Daily Wire. The parade, which took place in New York City on Thursday, as it always does, has generally been accepted as a family-friendly affair viewed by tens of millions of Americans each year. This year, however, two characters associated with the event's performances are so-called, quote, non-binary or transgender. I believe it was people that were a big deal in one of the Broadway performances that were coming up, which are common. They usually do Broadway performances trying to advertise the shows that they got going on, whatever. But people took issue with the fact that a main part of it was having a transgender and a non-binary character. The president of the Alliance Defending Freedom, ADF, Kristen Wagoner, reacted saying Macy's inclusion of a non-binary transgender character in a parade is just another example of an ideological war that's being waged on families, and customers are saying they've had enough. But it seems that corporate brands that were once trusted just still aren't getting the message. Seems like she's kind of calling out Bud Light a little bit there and other brands that continuously try to pander to woke mobs in an attempt to get some kind of brownie points. I don't know if that's the situation in this. I think it's weird. I don't think that a parade for Thanksgiving is necessarily a time that it's necessary to have some kind of a political statement, but others would disagree with me. And I'm going to get into the other disagreement that has, but I want to finish up this story. Out of the New York Times, Scott Galloway, a professor of marketing at New York University, said, quote, "A lot of these fringe groups are drunk with power." Remember that quote. I'm going to come back to that. A lot of these fringe groups are drunk with power. Seemed to also be referencing, at least according to the New York Times, the boycott over Bud Light's brand partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. And he also said, Scott Galloway, the professor of marketing at New York University, said, "If I were advising Macy's," which you're not, but he said, "if I were advising Macy's, this is an opportunity for them to say the following: judge me by my enemies." Oh, I'm sure he was proud of that line. Congratulations, Scott. Well, anybody who actually knows anything about marketing knows that the Dylan Mulvaney fiasco, and even in terms of this Macy's debacle with having a transgender and a non-binary person in the parade and like highlighted in the parade, has nothing to do with, honestly, from a marketing perspective, has nothing to do with the gender identity and what they're cosplaying as. No, what it has to do with is the fact that you market and brand yourself as one thing and then go the opposite direction. That's what Bud Light did. Bud Light marketed and branded themselves as more of a kind of a redneck beer, some kinds like a man's beer, a frat boy beer, like things like that. And then all of a sudden inject woke politics into it and gender ideology and this pseudo femininity. I say pseudo femininity to be clear. You are abandoning what you have said you are for, just as Macy's is kind of doing. We're family friendly. Okay, well then why don't we leave sexuality and gender ideology out of it? Because many would consider that not to be family friendly. And that's where we get back to what Scott said here. So Scott said, as I mentioned earlier, he said, quote, "A lot of these fringe groups are drunk with power." Well, I think you're a little drunk with power, Scott. You think you seem to know everything. But when he says fringe groups, this is something that the left does a lot. Fringe groups. What he's trying to do is play into this appeal to the bandwagon mentality. He's trying in his statement, and many do this, he's trying to say, no, those groups are just fringe. They're extremists. Whatever they want to call it. Fringe, extremist, MAGA, Nazi, whatever. You hear those kinds of terms all the time. And they do it to give a perception of unpopularity to your average, moderate, not very well-informed voter. And I don't mean that as an insult in terms of the well-informed. I think people should be more informed, but just your person who goes about their life without necessarily getting bogged down in any kind of politics. So he's trying to give that perception. He's trying to get people to jump on this bandwagon. But the fact of the matter is, especially as it pertains to the issue of like transgender, non-binary, is it's not really a fringe issue. It's actually a heavily divided issue, almost right down the middle. And so I'm going to give you some statistics here just to prove that Scott's dumb and wrong and that I'm right. According to Pew Research, the public is divided over the extent of which our society has accepted people who are transgender. 38% say society has gone too far in accepting them. A lower percentage says they haven't gone far enough. Roughly 6 in 10, about 58% of Americans, over half, favor proposals that would require transgender athletes to compete on teams that match the sex they were assigned at birth. 46% favor making it illegal for healthcare professionals to provide someone younger than 18 with medical care for gender transition. I think that number is a little lower than it should be, but okay, we're still near 50%. 41% favor making it illegal for public school districts to teach about gender identity in elementary schools. 41% want to make it illegal. And so that doesn't even include asking, like, do you think it's okay? Do you think they should? Things like that. No, that's 41 that say there should be legislation on a desk that says it is illegal for public school districts to teach gender identity in elementary schools. 43% of people say views on issues related to people who are transgender or non-binary are changing too quickly, while 26% say things are not changing quickly enough. Meaning, almost double, a little less than double, the amount of people that think that things are changing too quickly. There's about double, just less, than those who think it's not changing quickly enough. So to say, back to Scott, who thinks that this is a fringe issue and that people are drunk with power for being unhappy about this and trying to call it out. Scott Galloway, the marketing professor from the University of New York. No, it's not a fringe issue. It's a divided issue. It is a divided issue in which the country is trying to figure out the answer. And here's honestly my take. The fact of the matter, like I said, is that on most of these issues, on most issues when it comes to transgenderism, acceptance of it, sports, all of that, we are relatively divided, almost 50-50. Personally, I think that division comes from an internal struggle in people. What's the struggle between? A fight between the first thing being that we are kind of innately told, especially in American society, to try from a young age, be kind to people, tolerate them, let people live their lives the way they would like to live it. We're told that. Those are the kinds of things that we're kind of taught. And to an extent, I kind of agree with it. For the most part, I agree with it. You should be kind to people. You should tolerate people if they disagree with you. You should try to let people live their lives the way they want to live it, and they should do the same to you. So people are struggling between that and then also the biological fact that men are men and women are women, and just the logical understanding of that. And so they're trying to be kind and tolerate, but they're also at the same time trying to struggle with like what they know to be true. And so that is why these issues are so divided in my mind. So people are split. But by no means, like Scott would have you believe, is it fringe to not want children exposed to it at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. Not to mention the fact that many people just don't want it shoved down their throat, period. Why do they have to be in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade? They got their own parades that they do all across America for a whole month. For a whole month in June. The hell is this? I want my parade. Where's my parade? No, I actually don't. I'm kidding. But you got your own pride parade all the time. Why do you need to infiltrate the Thanksgiving Day parade? Doesn't make sense to me. Fascinating to me. And so that's not the only thing that caused controversy this year at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. You might have heard that there were protesters, and they were protesting genocide, but not that of Native Americans. And also I put genocide in quotes. But I want to go through any comments or anything that I may have missed while I was on that bit of a rant. So I see Scoot is kind of getting into some arguments here. Scoot, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you taking part. Apparently, Scoot thinks he was being harassed. I'm going to have to. There's been a lot of comments from Scoot. This is fascinating to me. Scoot, very interesting everything you're saying here. Once again, God bless you. I'm not bullying you. I'm just sharing my opinion. I saw you mention bullies in here. But let's see what Andrea said here. When the Alphabet Mafia demand capitulation, the time for live and let live is done. Yeah. I mean, well, like I'm going to let everybody live to an extent. And like, but again, as I said, I try to be tolerant. But as soon as it gets shoved down my throat, shoved down kids' throats, anything like that, then kind of need to say something. I'm not going to let that slide. I'm not going to let that slide at all. You guys know it. I know it. You know it. We all know it. These people, there's a lot of craziness out there in the world. There's a lot of craziness out there in the world. But you guys want to know what I really know? That right there. It's all you really need to know. Speaking of religion, let's get into this. Like I said, there was the whole trans non-binary thing kind of got overshadowed in the Macy's Day Parade by some protesters. There were protesters at the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And get this, everybody. Out of the Daily Wire, there were pro-Palestinian protesters. Yes, pro-Palestinian, pro-terrorism demonstrators that blocked the traditional Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York, gluing their hands to 6th Avenue in Manhattan. Like gluing their hands like to the street. Seriously. Balloons and floats intended to travel down the street but it was blocked, forcing New York Police Department to divert the parade. The parade traditionally ends at Macy's flagship store in Herald Square. In an attempt to turn the parade political, members of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe of Massachusetts waved Palestinian flags as well. Now, I want to show a bit of a video here of these protesters, and just watch and listen, because this is just fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me, everything that these lefties will do in a protest. Like, it can never just be like, hey, here's what we believe, here's what we want to share. No, it's got to be something like this.
For Palestine and planet, liberation. For Palestine and planet. For Palestine, liberation. Free Palestine! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! Gotta get off! Everybody out of the way! On the side! On the side! Back up!
Yeah, so that was the protesters that were outside of the that were, or not outside, they were blocking the Macy's Day Parade. And so you guys got to see their weird jumpsuit get-ups that had all these buzzwords on them: racism, capitalism, blah, blah, blah. And then it was liberation for Palestine and climate, liberation. Who cares? First off, once again, this is a Thanksgiving Day Parade. People are there to see Snoopy as a big old balloon and the massive turkey, and get some candy for people throwing it out, and watch these performances. It's like a 3-hour thing. Nobody cares. People are there to like get away from this kind of crap. And you come in there and you glue your hands to the road. Are you stupid? Obviously, they're asking to get run over. That's what they're asking for. Not to mention that one guy, so the cops were trying to pull him off the ground, right? The cops were trying to like pull him off the ground, get his hands behind his back, cuff him, and he's screaming bloody murder. Well, you knew you were going to be disrupting a public event. You knew you'd probably get arrested. I guarantee you he glued his hands with all that knowledge. I don't want you to, I don't care that you're screaming bloody murder. At that point, you kind of deserve to be like, to have your hands hurt a little bit. Because you're just, you glued your hands to the road. What did you think would happen? Maybe you wouldn't be screaming in pain. Maybe you wouldn't be in any pain if you didn't glue your hands to the road. Compare all that you just saw, to your average conservative protest. Remember, there were protests, especially from conservatives back in like 2020, 2021-ish against mask mandates, vaccine mandates, all that kind of stuff. Now, how many times did you see them like this? How many times did you see them like that? Like what we just saw? How many times did you hear of significant arrests? Did you hear of them disrupting like unrelated events like that? Like things that had nothing to do with what they were protesting. How many times? There's also other like weird leftist protest tactics in which they go and they go to a famous art gallery with paint and throw paint on the famous painting. For some reason that represents climate justice. I don't know. At least when people used to train themselves to a tree, it made sense to combat deforestation. At least that made sense. Tell me how this gluing your hands to the street or throwing paint on a painting represents climate justice or represents the ceasefire in Israel and being pro-Palestine. How? Explain that to me. I'd love to hear the creative hoops you jump through like a dolphin at SeaWorld to explain to me what kind of sense that makes. But these people obviously make no sense because it seems like they probably don't have any jobs. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a history too, because we see all this controversy coming out of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, right? But a little bit of history for you. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade began in 1924. So it's 99 years. And that was the same year that Detroit had a Thanksgiving Day Parade. And the only older Thanksgiving Day Parade was in Philadelphia, which started 4 years earlier in 1920. The Macy's parade usually lasts roughly 3 hours and has been nationally televised since 1953 on NBC. Macy's employees, friends, and family work as volunteers for the parade. And in fact, my school, Illinois State, has been represented in the parade not once but twice. In 1998, our Big Red Marching Machine is what it's called. It's like one of the largest marching bands in the country or something like that. They played in 1998. And they performed in it. And in 2014, just about a decade ago, we have a school circus. We're one of the only, there's like 2 or 3 schools in the country that have a recognized circus. And in 2014, our school circus performed in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which I'm not always the person that's got the biggest school spirit because colleges are liberal indoctrination factories, unless you're smart enough to not get indoctrinated. But I will have school pride for that because they had family-friendly performances with no posturing, political woke posturing in sight. For the Thanksgiving Day Parade, a happy time and good performances. But instead, people want to make everything. You can't go anywhere without having like politics shoved down your throat. You can't go to a happy holiday parade anymore without having somebody shove these politics down your throat. Now, the parade itself, that's the majority of the controversy that I saw out of the parade itself. But there is something that I want to talk about that happened during the parade, or like during the television part of the parade. There's a commercial that came up. I'm going to pull it up here for you guys in a second, but I see some comments here I want to address. DG, I know when it comes to the green screen, this is my first time doing it at home. I know I need to get a green screen. I have the cloth for it. I need to learn how to use OBS, which I see you also commented about. These are things that I'm working on, but I still wanted to bring you guys content for today. And so I'm doing my best. If anybody wants to support the show and wants to help me get the different equipment because I just have a big green sheet that I'm going to hang up right now, which will probably work well enough, but I got that. I need to get better lighting in here. I know there's a lot of things I need. If you want to support the show, as you guys always know, there's Venmo, there's Cash App down there. You can send a super chat. I'd really appreciate it. I have memberships to the channel. At some point, I'm going to make merch. You can also go check out, I have a partnership with a brand called United Merch Co. I think I have something about them in here somewhere. UnitedMerch.com. Check out, use code speechless at checkout for 20% off. That would also be a way to support the show. Anything like that. But definitely, if you guys want to help me get the equipment again, I'm graduating college. I got law school coming up. I got some money that I'm able to put into some things, but I'd really appreciate if you guys have any way of being able to support the show that way so that I can keep growing, keep getting bigger, and keep being better. But I appreciate the advice. So thank you so much. David, I appreciate this comment too. I didn't even know that you knew that. But awesome. ISU was the first college circus, and the only other one is in Florida. Awesome. I need to take a quick breath here. I'm checking out your guys' comments. I've just been getting into it, as you guys know. I got my waters here. I'm happy to be home talking to you guys today. I got another story here coming up. This is the commercial that aired during the family-friendly Thanksgiving Day parade. And this one's interesting. It kind of had and I'm curious your guys' take on it. We're going to watch it. I'll probably cut it up a little bit and react to some of it here. I just want to focus on the messaging of it because at glance, it looks like it's just a family fun sitcom on NBC. There's been tons of those, right? Tons. Family-friendly sitcom. I mean, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, great sitcom that used to be on NBC. There's others, too. Great. There's a lot of NBC sitcoms out there. But this one has an interesting message it's kind of giving off. And so let's talk about it. And I'm pulling it up here right now so we can all see it. Take a look and a listen right here.
Julie and I were married 18 years ago last June.
Happiest day of our lives was when we got divorced last July.
What?
The show is about two people who have gotten divorced and have decided to change the whole world's perception of how good a divorce can be.
We kept the apartment so the kids can stay there and we're the ones who come and go.
You got to get your grades up.
Dad said, don't worry about it. I wasn't here to cover Dad's mouth when he said that. My character falls in love with someone else and they decide to all be great together. It's a throuple, but not in the naughty way.
Weird.
Hey, Trey Taylor, owner of the Boston Celtics.
You don't need to say that. I didn't say Jim Kearney, owner of a 2004 Honda Accord.
Trey really loves Julia, and he is trying to figure out how he fits in all of this. He just has no clue what he's getting into.
You're early.
I have been admiring and watching John Cryer's work for many, many a year, and to actually be able to be in the scenes with him is really unbelievable.
To be in something with John Cryer is a dream come true.
What's the update?
Things are good. Things are fine. They're not good. They're bad.
My hope is that all the divorced couples out there could use this and be like, oh, that could be an option.
It's like a guide how to have amicable divorces. Everyone is in support of everyone in this little family.
It's a really fun relationship. You know, this is a relationship people haven't seen. It does make you realize that life can be as goofy as any sitcom.
Jim, how did you know I was here?
Family sharing, that blinking green dot, that's you.
You're tracking me?
You're the one who opted into the sharing.
When we were married.
And just like we opted out of that, you got to opt out of this.
Okay. So I let you guys watch all of it because I thought there was you could just get through all of it before we get into it. Cause like I said, at first glance, it looks like it could just be like a quirky little comedy, right? Just a quirky little comedy about a not unconventional family situation. I mean, that's the majority of sitcoms ever is let's take a family that is slightly unordinary and go about their lives. I mean, it's like what Full House was in the 80s, early 90s, and everything, even through the 90s. Full House was that. It's like 3 men and a baby, right? So that's kind of, at first glance, what it seems like. But I want to go back to the very beginning of that ad because the ending of it redeems itself. But go back to the very beginning and let's just review what the very first few things that are said.
Julie and I were married 18 years ago last June.
Happiest day of our lives was when we got divorced last July.
The show is about two people who have gotten divorced and have decided to change the whole world's perception of how good a divorce can be.
How good a divorce can be. And that's where we fall into the issue, right? Look, I know people that have gotten divorced, plenty of them. I know plenty of people, I know people personally that are friends. I know friends who have parents that have gotten divorced. And there are reasons, there are logical and understandable reasons as to why people get divorced. But as we know, it's pretty much common knowledge nowadays that about half of all marriages in the United States end in divorce. And it is my belief that there are forces out there that wish for more people to get divorced. Seriously. Why? Because then if you were divorced, in short, if you're divorced, there's a lot of negatives that come with that on a personal side that would make you more dependent on the government. Which side is usually more in favor of people being on the government? I'm sure you guys have an answer, and I'll let you guys answer that one for yourselves. But let's talk about this. Some effects of divorce on society. Real, just truth. This is from the Law for Families. Lawforfamilies.com. You can go look it up if you'd like. Divorce can save people from a bad marriage, but research has shown that it can also debilitate a society. Divorced adults are more likely to become impoverished while their children experience psychological and economic stress, hindering their social development. According to the National Marriage Project, between 1960 and 2009, the divorce rate in the United States doubled. Between 40 and 50% of newly married couples will either separate or divorce. With high divorce rates threatening social stability, the United Nations urges governments everywhere to adopt policies to reverse this trend. So what are some of these bad things that can happen? Well, the Heritage Foundation reports that children of divorced households tend to enter high-risk marriages themselves, leading to higher chances of divorce. Even worse, says researcher Patrick Fagan, is that these children often do not marry, period, or ever start families of their own. Right now, we are in a population decrease worldwide and in America. Why? Maybe in part due to the divorce crisis we're in. And so that's a phenomenon that can disturb social harmony. Now, there's also surging poverty levels. Divorce breeds poverty, particularly for women and children in the first 18 months following divorce. Between 77 and 83% of mothers and their children live in poverty. That's 77 to 83%. That means 7 to 8 out of 10 mothers who get divorced with their children end up in poverty. With fewer economic resources, most of children of divorce experience disruption, changes in childcare, living arrangements, and schools that create turmoil in their lives. Now, what are some of these things that create turmoil in their lives? Well, lacking guidance from their parents who are dealing with the divorce, as well as trying to deal with the economic issues, children of divorce are more likely to behave as social deviants. Specific findings reported by the Heritage Foundation that these children are more likely to commit minor and serious crimes, run away from home, be suspended from school, smoke cigarettes, abuse alcohol, carry weapons, engage in physical fighting, and use marijuana and cocaine. And both male and female adolescents living in single-parent households are more expected to have experimented with sex by age 11. So for anybody out there who is like, divorce is a good thing. Divorce is a good thing. Look, like I said, there are instances, domestic abuse, or somebody that is serially anti-monogamistic, polyamorous, whatever they want to call them, the people that cheat, people that are not faithful. Okay, I can understand a divorce. It could be a better instance in there are specific instances, specific anecdotes in which it could be better. But by and large, encouraging divorce is a bad thing. Encouraging divorce is a bad thing. And there's a victim to it. There's a victim. Children are the victims of divorce. There's other things. I mean, it leads to a lack of academic achievement, which can add to the cycle of poverty as well. And also increase the chances of depression, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. But then we get back to this commercial that I showed during the family-friendly Thanksgiving parade. Again, there wasn't necessarily anything pushing the LGBTQ agenda or saying that white people are bad, but it speaks to the consistent theme of people wanting to disrupt the idea of the nuclear family. I'm old enough to remember Black Lives Matter website back in like 2020 used to have a thing on its website in terms of its goals, in which it said it wanted to dismantle the idea of the traditional nuclear family. The traditional nuclear family that has been shown to be the best way and most successful way to have children and prepare those children for the next generation. And so, yes, this might just be a quirky TV show. And there is a slight positive to it that I will note. Near the end of that commercial, let's go back near the end. I'll play the part that I think was actually kind of a more positive note, that you had two of the lead characters mention in this right here. Let's take a look and a listen one more time at what they had to say.
My hope is that all the divorced couples out there could use this and be like, oh, that could be an option.
It's like a guide how to have amicable divorces. Everyone is in support of everyone in this little family.
It's a really fun relationship. You know, this is a relationship people haven't seen. It does make you realize that life can be as goofy as any sitcom.
Jim, how did you know I was here?
So
Family sharing.
that's what I think was the positive of it. Is that's the good that I think could come out of this TV show. But I hate how it starts off with the idea divorce is a good thing. The best day of my life was when we got divorced. Look, from what I can see from this trailer, I haven't seen the show yet. I don't think it's even been released yet. From what I can see from this trailer, for people that are already divorced and have gone through that, it could be a good thing to show, keep the parents involved, have the kids be there supportive for the kids, do the best you can. But in no way should this be used, and should people take this as, well, divorce is a good thing. The more we normalize divorce, the more it will happen. Look, people are starting, we already have a world in which, because people will come at me and be like, well, Kevin, just because you normalize something doesn't mean that it's going to make it more common. Okay, well, what about those who have normalized abortion enough? They come out and say, well, abortion is just healthcare. Abortion is just healthcare. Well, you say that enough and people start using it as birth control. There are people that are out there. Maybe it's not the vast majority, but it exists. People that are out there that have had 5, 6, 7+ abortions because to them, it's just healthcare. Don't need to worry about any kind of birth control, condoms, or maybe just like not sleeping around. No, I could just always go get an abortion because it's just healthcare, right? Well, it's just a divorce, right? Like, it's just like breaking up. I just don't like him anymore. I liked having that big party that my parents paid for, or his parents paid for, whoever in this relationship, their parents paid for it, or I paid for it. I liked having that big party where all the eyes were on me and I was basically the prom queen. But, you know, I had a ring and it was nice, but it doesn't really mean anything, does it? Doesn't. No. The more we take God out of the equation of relationships and inject a secular mindset that divorce is just okay all the time, the further down the road towards societal destruction we will walk. I firmly believe that. Let's see what you guys are saying in here. I see meth got into the topic of conversation. How to be a simp 101. That's funny. First time viewer, Jess, thank you for joining. I appreciate you. God bless you for joining and watching. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate this too, Patty. I want to make it the best I can, though, because that's how you reach a larger audience, is by making it look professional. And I try to make it look as professional as I can. But I do love that mindset as well. Thank you for focusing on what I'm listening to. Let's see what else we got. I wish they would make shows with traditional family, not broken families. No matter what anyone says, a child wants to have a mommy and a daddy be together. If a man and a woman want to bring a child into this life, they will make the commitment, sacrifice responsibility to make it work for the child. Absolutely. Let's see what else we got here. I've been married 24 years. Life's golden, 2 children. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And God bless you. And thank you for sharing. This is actually funny, but I prefer John with but it's common today. I see DG. I wanted to see what DG had to say because it seems like he's pushing a little bit more understanding divorce, and I want to understand a different point of view. It's never good, but sometimes it's the reality and best for people to move on. They should be adults and get along for the sake of the kids. Absolutely. And I saw this one too. Divorce is not always a poor choice. Sometimes it's the best one. And I do understand that. Like I said, there are extreme scenarios, especially in terms of domestic abuse, or maybe the husband goes to jail for something that's awful. Maybe he's been a serial liar of some kind. He's not faithful. He has a whole nother family. Like, I get it. There are instances in which it can be understood. But a lot of it also comes with the fact that if you don't found your relationship with some sense of God, and with some sense of that being your foundation, then what's the point? I don't even understand the point of getting married if there's no sense of religion within your relationship. Because besides the tax benefits, it's the only other thing. But I wouldn't even be surprised if at some point the government makes it more beneficial to be a single parent. I mean, they kind of have. They've incentivized it with the fact that a single parent will get more government assistance on welfare than a dual parent household. So there's that. Let's see what else we got here before I get on to a few other things. That would be true. However, 70% of people who file for divorce are women. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, I got some other things. Yes, this is the other thing. Facts are that divorce is worse for the child. That's why I said and mentioned that all the different reasons why children are the victims of divorce. Usually. And again, there are children that make it out of tough circumstances, have a terrible home life, have divorced parents, separated parents, whatever, and they make something for themselves. And God bless them. But if we want to set as many children up for success, if we want to try to have, like the left always wants to talk about having an equitable society and an equal society and set people up for success, then why isn't stressing a two-parent household, not getting divorced, not letting fathers off the hook who abandon their families, or women who take the children so they can get more government assistance? I've heard both stories before. Why are we not holding those people accountable if we really want to have an equal and equitable society? Because that's where it could start in terms of encouraging success. Just an idea. All right. I spent a good amount of time on that topic. I got a few more I can get to here before we go. So there's another Thanksgiving one for everybody. I got a few Thanksgiving things trickled out through the rest of the show. This one I found fascinating. Another leftist organization, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, made a post to Twitter on Thanksgiving Day. I'm going to share my screen and just show it to you guys. This is hilarious here. So on Twitter, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals posted this. They said at the very top here, "We're lucky turkeys would never do this to us. You don't have to do it to them either." And so then you can see the picture there. That's what the turkey sitting around the table. But let's look at the community note on the side. Let me make sure you guys can see it. I got to double check there we go. Yeah, you guys can see it. So on the side here, readers added context they thought people might want to know. Turkeys are not vegetarians. Turkeys eat mice, lizards, frogs, just about anything that can fit in their mouth. If turkeys were larger or had the technical means to farm and eat humans, their current diet reveals they likely would. Thank God for Elon Musk in these kinds of situations, because I know he had in some way a hand to play in this. Twitter, if not run by Elon Musk, wouldn't have this added context on here. It is the absolute troll against PETA, who always puts out like stupid woke crap that just makes no sense. And again, can't just let people be happy on what's supposed to be a happy day. But this made me happy. There was another one. I don't know if maybe somebody put it here in the comments. At one point, there was a reader's context on there that I saw that said something to the effect of, what it is. It was like turkeys in some cases, when very hungered, they will resort to cannibalism, meaning that they'll literally eat their own, which also I found to be quite funny. So yeah, that's a little quick bit for you guys there from PETA. Oh God, PETA. PETA sure knows how to piss people off. All right. I got some more stuff about Thanksgiving to get into a little later in the show when we end with what I consider to be the dessert of my stream. But I also want to, once again, push the idea that if you guys want to join the stream, if you want to add to anything of the conversation, anything I've been talking about, I know the divorce one really had people riled up. I can circle back to that. Follow that link. I'd love to bring you in. Just go in the waiting room and I'll bring you in and we can talk. We can chat, have a good time. I'd appreciate it. If Peter was serious, they would have railed Fauci. But yes, if you guys would like to add anything to the conversation about anything I've talked about, I can circle back to things. I can reiterate what I've talked about. I'd love for you guys to join. It would be awesome. So join that link if you'd like. But I want to get into this one now because I thought this one was just crazy. And so a lot of times I talk to people about this Hamas Israel thing, Palestine Israel, which obviously we saw the protesters for it earlier. I have conversations with people about it, and I'll interchangeably use the terms Palestine and Hamas, and they'll get mad at me. They'll be like, Palestine is not Hamas. Hamas is not Palestine. And I'm always like, kinda. Because here's the truth. Back in the early 2000s, Hamas was democratically elected by the Palestinian territories to be the ruling government of Palestine. Since then, they have not held a democratic election since. So, in a way, Palestine and all of its military and the majority of its government are Hamas. Look, yes, you probably have people in Palestine, but I have no number figure to estimate who's on what side. But I guarantee you there are people that live in Palestine that are not supportive of Hamas. They could be Islamic. I'm sure there's might be some Christians. Maybe. There was a Christian church in Gaza, so maybe. But the fact of the matter is, to me, they're interchangeable. And you want to know one of the things that kind of proves why they're more interchangeable? When you have people that are out protesting, even people that are out in the media, and they basically defend Hamas. Not even just basically, they do. They defend Hamas and the actions against Hamas. Yeah, it would seem as though you're not protesting in favor of Palestine. You're protesting in favor of Hamas, but all your signs say pro-Palestine on them. So wouldn't the logical assumption to be that you're advocating for both Hamas and Palestine? Because you're letting the beheading of babies go? Maybe that question's a bit rhetorical, but my idea is summed up well in this argument that happened on Talk TV. Out of the Daily Wire, Wafa Abdel Rahman joined Talk TV to discuss the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, and she argued that Hamas should not give up Israeli hostages. As you guys might have heard, this over the weekend, there was more talks between Israel and Hamas to exchange hostages in Gaza. Some of whom were supposed to be released as a part of a deal for a temporary ceasefire as earlier this weekend. This Wafa suggested that Israel was at fault for the war and said that the hostages should only be given up if they were negotiated for an end to the aggression. Well, this is a fascinating interview, and the host of this show, both of them, make it absolutely hilarious. We're going to take a look and a listen to this clip right here.
And for everybody, nobody wants to keep prisoners inside Gaza. And everybody is looking forward just to send them back to their families. But this should be done in a fair deal, meaning ending the aggression on Gaza, ending the war on Gaza, at the same time releasing the Palestinian prisoners in the Israeli jail.
Can I jump in? And I really appreciate you being on, Wafa Abel. Thank you so much indeed. I think we all want the hostages released. I just have a question for you. You said exchange of prisoners. You talked about the aggression on Gaza. This was started by Hamas launching a terrorist activity against the Israeli people. I'm not, by the way. I'm with Nick. I want all the hostages, but I doubt if Israel's going to negotiate with terrorists, are they?
Now, just listen to what she has to say. She's already obviously more in favor of Palestine based on the things she said. But and I've already laid out some of the things that she will say, but just listen to this. Like, this is the craziest thing to me, what she's about to say.
They're not terrorists.
What, Hamas
They're
aren't
not
terrorists?
terrorists. They're not terrorists.
Hamas aren't terrorists?
They're not terrorists. Nelson Mandela.
No. Sorry, I can't have that at all. I can't have that.
Fighter.
1,400 people were literally subjected to genocide. Babies were beheaded in birth.
Check your
That
numbers,
is terrorists.
It was 1,200.
I love how, before we let this off the rails interview go further, I love how he's like, yo, they're terrorists. They beheaded babies and there was 1,400 people killed. And instead of addressing like the babies being killed and like the acts that were done, she's just like, check your numbers. It wasn't 1,400. It was 1,200. Check your numbers. Like, are you stupid? Are you stupid? You literally are just going to ignore the entire context of the situation and just be mad that he might have misquoted the number by a few hundred people. And yes, a few hundred people is an important thing to note, but the actions themselves are important. And I think he even kind of mentions that. Let's take a listen.
From the Israeli media.
Yeah,
check your
they've
numbers.
confirmed that it's
First, they're not
1,200.
1,400.
Doesn't matter whether it's 12. Those are terrorist genocidal behaviors, madam.
No.
Exactly.
You rely on the Israeli media. You don't double check. And this is the job of your media.
Hamas is a terrorist organization. Fact.
It's not a terrorist
Yes, it is. Sorry.
It's a Palestinian
Absolutely
party.
not having it.
Wait. Did you hear what she just said there? It's not a terrorist organization. It's a Palestinian party. Take one more listen.
Absolutely not having it.
Palestinian party.
Not changing my mind.
It's up to you.
It's up to you as well. I
And
agree.
what do you call the Israeli government? What do you call the fascists?
I don't call the Israeli government a terrorist organization.
What do you call the
That's all I have to say on it. Sorry. Terrorists,
since the
Hamas,
beginning
fact.
of the year? They're not terrorists.
Yes, they are.
They're not.
Terrorists.
No,
You
they're
and
not.
Corbyn need to understand they're terrorists.
You
Wafa,
need to understand.
let's just stop
the
shouting for a
context.
second.
You need to name things as they are.
Terrorists.
It's genocide
Okay,
that is
let me just,
happening in
Wafa,
Gaza, done by an Israeli criminal government and army.
Terrorists.
Wafa, whilst I appreciate that it's very important that we call terrorism, we call people who commit acts of terrorism terrorists, I just want to really quickly, Wafa, understand why you say that Hamas are not.
They're not. They're
And
not.
the explanation for
Because
that would
the
be?
Israelis have been terrorizing us. The question for you, do you believe the Palestinians have the right to resist? This is the first question.
I think there's a
second
difference
question,
between
what kind
Palestinians
of
and
resistance
Hamas.
do you expect?
I'd
Do you
hope
expect Palestinians?
there's a difference between genuine Palestinians and Hamas. But
There
Wafa
is.
Abel, thank you very much indeed. We're out of time. All yours, Nick. Sorry.
So I love this. Wait, he had one more thing I wanted to hear too.
Not changing my opinion on that.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to try and understand why people would come from
I
that.
want to know if the return of the hostages and then a ceasefire results in Hamas then attacking Israel again. Sorry, my opinion. You're entitled to yours, Wafa, but thank you for coming on.
I just love, he's kind of smug about it, but he totally deserved to be when the guest was just absolutely moronic to come on. But okay, when I say moronic, the statements followed no logic. Period. The logic is that Hamas committed acts of terror and so thus would rightfully be called terrorists. Now, what does this remind me of? This reminded me of immediately. It reminded me of 2020-ish, like summer of 2020, when I believe that was around the time President Trump had put into effect Antifa being considered a domestic terrorist organization. And now there were some people out there that were like, well, Antifa isn't a terrorist, isn't terrorism. They don't do terrorism, but they kind of realized that even that one was like hard to argue against, considering the billions of dollars of damages and dozens of lives lost in quote unquote mostly peaceful protests across America. So instead, they went to starting to say that no, well, Antifa just isn't an organization. despite the fact that there are videos of Antifa satellites having meetings. Steven Crowder has some on his YouTube and such. Like, it's pretty confirmed that there are Antifa organizations across America. But everybody was like, well, it's not actually an organization. It's not actually an organization. Just like this lady who comes on like global TV and says, no, get your facts straight. Hamas aren't terrorists. They're just defending themselves. And here's where the false dichotomy comes in that she tries to address or assert. Wafa, who we just heard from, tries to assert this idea that because Palestine and Hamas had been attacked by Israel in the past, they could not be terrorists. And that's also leftist logic. Not only the denial of terrorism in general, just like the Antifa thing, it's also leftist logic in the fact that she says, and I'm going to try to play by her rules, of which she doesn't really have any, but I'm going to try to play by them for the sake of an argument here. She tries to claim that Israel is the terrorizer, and so thus Hamas is always just defending itself. Here's the truth. Those are not mutually exclusive. You can be both defending yourself and committing terrorist acts as a terrorist organization. You can. You could have two terrorist groups that are fighting each other. You're not going to, and I'm not calling Israel a terrorist group. I'm much more on Israel's side than I am Hamas. I hope I've made that clear. If I haven't, I want to be clear. I am. But you could have two organizations that are in fact committing terrorism against each other. What Wafa tries to assert is that Hamas cannot be terrorists because others are terrorists against them. Just hit my mic. But that's what she tries to claim. Now let's compare that to something else that the left does in America, especially, is what we hear is, well, you can't be racist towards white people. You can't be racist towards white people because white people have historically been racist to others. It is the same logical train of thought. You can't do X to Y because X has been committed against Y, or because Y has done that to X. That's the mathematical way of putting it. And that's what she's trying to claim. But as we know, when it comes to racism, you can be definitively, by the definition of racism, the real definition, not what the left tries to claim it is. The real definition of racism, you can be racist towards a white person. You can be racist towards a black person, an Asian, a Mexican, a mixed person, anything. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They committed acts of terror. And those that deny it are terrorist sympathizers, just like Wafa, and just like many of those across the country, including those at the Macy's Day Parade, that try to claim otherwise. So, that's my thoughts on that one. I see the comment section got a little stale during that, but I hope you guys learned something from that. Learn a lot of what I try to do here, especially in interviews such as that, is try to show you guys like the arguments that the left will try to make and be able to recognize the patterns that they do. Because then when you see it on your own, you're going to be like, oh man, I remember that. Like Kev pointed that out. Now I can see it. That's what happens. Once light is shed on it, that light cannot be taken away. And once you remember it, you'll notice it everywhere. Okay, so I got some other stories I can get to here in the last like 30-ish minutes of this show, if that long. I got some quick hits. These are quick hit stories that I just saw that I wanted to address. Totally unrelated to just about anything. I'm going to end out the show if you want to make sure that you guys don't leave, because I will be doing some TikTok reactions here at the end, because those are always fun. So I found some fun ones that I'm going to do. But this is out of the New York Post. New York Rep George Santos touts expected expulsion from Congress as a, quote, badge of honor. He considers it a badge of honor that he's probably going to get kicked out of Congress. And he rips colleagues who, quote, screw lobbyists. Okay, so I've talked about George Santos once or twice on this show before. He's that Republican rep from, what did I just say here? New York. From New York, that got basically elected lying about his entire resume and everything. He's basically the worst the worst thing, and and this is including Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy and a lot of others, George Santos is the worst thing to happen to the Republican Party in modern times, because he just makes us look awful. Look, we know Democrats like AOC and Ilhan Omar and the squad, Joe Biden, Kamala. We know they lie. We know they're liars. But the thing is that it's kind of accepted to be that way in the Republican Party. I'm sorry, not in the Democrat Party. We know some Republicans are liars too, but we call them out on it. We don't praise them for it. Democrats just kind of ignore it. But let's get into this. So disgraced Rep. George Santos admitted he expects to be booted from Congress by his colleagues next week and slammed the bad behavior he claims to have witnessed from other politicians on Capitol Hill. He said, quote, "I have colleagues who are more worried about getting drunk every night with the next lobbyist that they're going to screw and pretend like none of us know what's going on and sell off the American people. Not show up to vote because they're too hungover or whatever the reason is, or not show up to vote at all and just give their card out like effing candy for someone else to vote for them." He also said, "I don't care. You want to expel me? I'll wear it like a badge of honor. I'll be the 6th member expelled from Congress in the history of Congress. And guess what? I'll be the only one expelled without a conviction." Well, he is currently facing charges of fraud. And based on the fact that he has publicly come out and said that he has lied to get elected to Congress, I can't imagine those charges will go well for him. But everybody, that's the update on George Santos. I got another quick hit for you here. Let's get here. Derek Chauvin. You guys might have heard about this. I covered Derek Chauvin a lot on here. I'm not a Derek Chauvin defender necessarily. I think that he had what I'm a defender of is our justice system. I don't think he had a fair trial, and I do not believe he is responsible for the death of George Floyd. George Floyd died from an overdose. We know that conclusively. If you look at his autopsy, that's how it reads. It does not say that at the top of the autopsy, but if you look at everything that was in his system and everything that it says, I have a video on it. George Floyd died from a drug overdose. Pretty much common knowledge to anybody with a brain nowadays. But Derek Chauvin, out of The Guardian, the former Minneapolis police officer who was convicted of murdering George Floyd, only convicted, didn't actually do it, but he was convicted of it, was stabbed in prison by a fellow inmate Friday and is expected to survive the attack. Officials have told the media outlet. Lawyers for Chauvin have lobbied to keep him out of Tucson's prison's Gen Pop, arguing that he would be targeted for violence. So his lawyers have been arguing for him not to be in Gen Pop because they thought something like this would happen. Chauvin's attorney, Gregory Erickson, complained to the Associated Press on Saturday that federal prison officials had not been transparent about the previous day's stabbing, forcing his family, I saw this in multiple articles too, his family, George Floyd's family, to rely on the news for updates. So like his mother, Derek Chauvin's mother, had to find out about the stabbing, her son being stabbed in prison from the news. She didn't get to actually know what had happened. And in my research, I couldn't find a news account that said why exactly he was stabbed. Now I have my guesses from the false media narrative and also inappropriate and unjust conviction of him. But I don't know. And his mom has had to follow the news for all of it. It's insane. His attorney, Chauvin's attorney, said, "I view the lack of communication as completely outrageous," he said in a statement. "It appears to be indicative of a poorly run facility. It indicates how Derek's assault was allowed to happen." A statement from Ellison decried Chauvin's stabbing, saying, quote, "He was duly convicted of his crimes, and like any incarcerated individual, he should be able to serve his sentence without fear of retaliation or violence." It was also reported that the Supreme Court has appealed Derek Chauvin's appeal, or has denied Derek Chauvin's appeal to the highest court, meaning that pretty much there's very little legal recourse for him now. He will be spending his time in jail. Sad, very, very sad. And like I've said consistently, and Martin Luther King originally said it, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And this is a perfect example. Derek Chauvin's conviction, now his stabbing, and him not being put out of Gen Pop despite his attorneys arguing for it and making a pretty damn good case, especially now that the man was literally stabbed in prison. There's a reason why they want him in Gen Pop. I feel awful for the guy. Again, I'm not a defender of him. I think that he should have had a fair trial. I would like to see a fair trial of the man, but I do not believe that he actually murdered George Floyd. If you read the autopsy, just read it. I've gone through it. Just read it. Final quick hit that I got before I wrap up the show a little bit. President Biden's 81st birthday was last week on November 20th, which broke his own record that he held for the oldest United States president in history. President Biden's 81st birthday ushered in even more conversation surrounding his age and declining cognitive acuity. Two things Texas Republican Representative Ronnie Jackson, who is also a former White House physician, believes are valid causes for concern. The decline, he says, is happening quickly. Like you said, this is a quote from the former White House physician. Like you said, I've taken care of 3 presidents, so I know firsthand what it takes to be commander-in-chief and head of state. It's a grueling job, both mentally and physically. This man can't do the job. He's proven to us every single day that he can't do the job, but this is going to get worse. Jackson served as a physician under Bush, Obama, and Trump administrations and had previously sounded the alarm over Biden's cognitive acuity, even demanding he take a cognitive test or drop out of the 2024 race. Jackson said the decline had been evident for some time, looking back on Biden as a candidate before his 2020 matchup against then President and current Republican frontrunner Donald Trump, whom Jackson has endorsed for the 2020 rematch. Finally, Jackson said, it's just unbelievable how much he's degenerated just during his time in office. We cannot afford to have this man in office for the remainder of this term and then for another 4 years after that. He's already putting us at risk right now. Us at great risk right now. So yes, Biden is 20, or is not 20. Biden is 81 years old. He is definitively an octogenarian, at least over a year in. How does that make you feel? I just want to ask people that. Maybe that should be a question I go on to like the quad at ISU, or I just go out in public and I just ask people, how does that make you feel? That our president is 81 years old. Maybe I start. I'll ask all you guys. This is a test run for all of you guys. How old are your grandparents? Or even how old would your grandparents be if they were still alive for some people? Sorry for your loss if that's you, but seriously, how old are your grandparents? Okay. Do you think they should run the country? Do you know how old Joe Biden is? He's 81. How does that make you feel? Those are the questions I'm going to run through. Because that is how we start getting people to realize that are the people that are like, vote blue no matter who. Vote blue no matter who. To realize that maybe Joe Biden isn't a good option. Maybe, just maybe, having a president who is qualified for AARP for almost 20 years shouldn't be president. Like, just saying. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the crazy one for thinking that. Maybe I am. All right. That's my quick hits for the day, guys. I got some more. I got some TikToks we're going to talk about here. I'm going to make sure I get them all open so I can get through them in a good and swift manner. But I am also going to look through your comments briefly as well. I want to know what you guys have to say about anything that I've been talking about. And as always, if you want to join the stream, if you want to react to anything with me, if you want to share your opinion, I'll bring you on. There's the link right there. There's the link, and you guys can join the stream real easy. You don't necessarily have to, if I know who you are and you've talked to me before, you don't have to put your camera on. If you've never talked to me, I'd like you to at least flash it for me so I know that like who you are kind of. But I got some great TikToks for you guys here. I'm just pulling them up now, getting them in order so we can go through some of those. Let's see what we've had going on here in the comments. Protect Chauvin. Yeah, he should be. Santos was probably a plant. Maybe. Jill, love to hear that you're cooking. Hope whatever you're cooking is good. And thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. The federal prison is a mess. Absolutely. Our system is absolutely a mess, especially with the fact that we no longer really have mental institutions in this country. I guarantee you, if we had treatment facilities, we could be able to get a lot of people with drug addictions, people, nonviolent offenders that are in for mildly delinquent behavior, that have serious mental illnesses. We could actually get people treated and at least living on a better path. But just ask Epstein. That was good, Oklahoma Chicken Cam. That's funny. Biden is a degenerate. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Biden is quite a degenerate. I 100% agree with you there, David. 100%. My mom is 87. Maybe we should run her for Congress. Maybe. Anything's on the table nowadays. Anything. Honestly, we could weekend at Bernie's just about anybody. That's basically what they're doing with him. Maybe grandpa should retire from the government and finally go work a real job of being a grandparent. Heck, maybe he should actually try being a father. Like we all saw how Hunter turned out. So just saying. Patty, he's not even very good at that either. Yep. Okay, let's get to some of these TikToks. I know a lot of people out here might not have TikTok. And so I always like sharing what people from around my generation are putting out there and reacting to it. And so we got some different ones. Some of these are from like the Thanksgiving time. And I got some other ones that I just think are going to spark some fun conversation. Let me make sure I have one more I got to make sure I pull up here too before I pull them onto screen. Okay, let's talk about these. This first one is this girl. Absolutely insane. Actually, I also have an intro video for this. Everybody, this is Speechless Reactions. Oh yeah, Speechless Reactions right there. Added some groovy music to it. Adding new stuff here to Speechless, trying to bring you guys the best and most quality content. Okay, let's cringe our way through these TikToks just because we got to know what the other side says. That's why I always try to tell you guys, like, this is how the left's logic works. Like I was just telling you not too long ago, we got to watch these not only because they're hilarious, but because we got to understand that these are real people. These are people you could interact with in public. So get the laughter out now before you actually might have to see them and they're bagging your groceries or whatever. Okay, let's take a look and listen to this one. This is a biological man, just so you know, as we watch this. Take a look and listen.
It's Thanksgiving week. You want to stir up a little controversy? The bar's been raised this year. New tattoo's not going to do it. Oh, you got your nose pierced? So did Grandma. Well, maybe I'll tell everyone who I voted for and who I'm definitely not voting for. They know. They know. No. You really want to make a splash at the turkey table this year? I'll tell you what you need to do.
I got to tell you, so just as we're getting, because you're about to hear what you're going to need to do, what you got to do, according to this biological man who pretends to be a woman. I really am super uncomfortable by the seductive nature of this man's voice. And how it seems like he's trying to, like, he's part of the red light district or something and trying to draw somebody in. I don't like that. I don't like it. Might be good marketing for his target demographic, but here's what he says you need to do. If you really want to cause controversy at Thanksgiving, take a listen.
Donate to a trans woman's GoFundMe for gender-affirming surgery and watch heads roll. Well, but I don't really have any trans friends. I'll be your friend. Hey, bestie.
No, please don't.
There's a link in my bio. Friends. Minimum donation is just $5. $5 to make Thanksgiving history?
History? Oh, my God.
I think that's worth it.
Feminist. I think that's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's worth it.
Yeah, I think that's worth it.
Don't you?
No, I don't think it's worth it. And there's a few things we're going to, for the first point that we're going to start off with this, we're going to ignore the whole gender thing about it. And we're just going to point to the fact that I just think it's absolutely hilarious how it starts off with all this stuff. Like, you want to make Thanksgiving? Honestly, it kind of sounds just like a really shitty infomercial. And I'm allowed to say shitty because I'm not on on the radio right now, but it sounds like a really shitty infomercial. Just like, you know, when you're trying to stir the pot at Thanksgiving, no, you shouldn't tell people your political views. Don't talk about who you're going to vote for. The real way you stir the pot at Thanksgiving is you give me money. That's pretty much what he just said. Give me money. Not only give me money so I can remove my genitals. That's what he just said. That's what he just said. That is what this man is saying. That's what's going to cause controversy at Thanksgiving. Imagine me. I wouldn't do this. I tell you guys what my money is gonna like. If you guys were feeling kind enough to donate to the Venmo, Cash App, anything like that, or send me a super chat, anything, I tell you what it's gonna go to, and I tell you that I'm super thankful for it. How disingenuous is it to be like, this is how you're gonna cause the controversy? Imagine me coming up and saying, you want to know how you could cause controversy at Thanksgiving? No, don't tell your tranny cousin that they're actually a man. Don't misgender your woke neighbor. No, give me money so I can get better lighting. No, shitty, it's terrible. It's terrible. No, be honest with people. This person doesn't actually care. I think that's just hilarious. Just hilarious to me, along with like the whole gender stuff with, I don't know. It's disingenuous to me. This person is probably just trying to get it to pay their bar tab, its bar tab, his bar tab, whatever you want to call it. Because if it's really for the assignment surgery, I mean, apparently you could just join the military and get that paid for. So I don't know. That's the first one. Let's get into this next one. If you weren't terrified by that first one, this one will do it for you. Take a look, analyze it. This one's kind of short too. So let's just look here. Why do they always look like this? Seriously, I know some of you guys aren't necessarily watching, you're just trying to listen, but why do they always look like this? Seriously, let's watch. Decided I'm going to misgender I had to pause on that face too. Decided I'm going to misgender my entire family on Thanksgiving so they know how it feels. Oh God, I wish I was a part of this person's family. That's what I have to say. I wish I was a part of this person's family. Because I would love to be misgendered by them. I've talked about it on my show before because I'm kind of shameless about it. I have two older sisters. They misgender me every holiday. Every holiday they misgender me. They always say, Kevin, we wish you were born so it would be 3 sisters in this family and there was no boys. My 2 older sisters, they'll be like, you're Kavina to us. That's the sister we always wanted, Kavina. And you know what I do? You want to know what I do? Do you really want to know? What I do is nothing. I'd be like, don't call me that. Like when I was younger, I'd be like, don't call me that. But I don't really do anything. So for this person to be over here and say, decided I'm going to misgender my entire family on Thanksgiving so they know how it feels. Any normal person would probably be out and just start like, just call me a she. Why just call me a she? And then they'd be like, I'm misgendering you so you know how it feels. Oh, okay, cool. That's the interaction that a sane person would have. Oh, okay, cool. Whatever. You want to know why? Because a sane person or a person that doesn't have a serious mental illness doesn't need somebody else to validate their immutable characteristics of their gender to be mentally healthy. They're comfortable enough in who they are to where somebody saying something that they deem as rude or insensitive or just plain weird doesn't really faze them. So do it. See what happens. And see how sane your family is. I'm going to start misgendering my family and seeing what they do. I'll film it. Honestly, after this show, I'm going to go upstairs and call my dad, mom. Again, I'm just going to consistently do it until I can see how annoyed I can make him. I'm going to do it. I'll do that and I'll post it to my YouTube. It'll be funny. But that's that one. I got like 2 more here. Here's this one. This one is crazy. This is a preschool teacher who identifies as quote unquote non-binary. I believe it's a biological woman. They make it hard to tell sometimes, but it's a biological woman. And so let's take a look and a listen to what this lady had to say about the preschool students she has.
Okay, guys, I can't. This is too funny. So I'm at work, and those of you who don't know me, I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a preschool teacher. So instead of using Mr. or Miss, we use mix. So the kids have been really awesome doing that. I work with 3 and 4-year-olds. One of my kiddos came up to me and he goes, "Are you mixed up? Are you mixed up?"
Yes. Are you mixed up?
I was like, "No, sweetie, I'm not mixed up. I just use mix instead of Mr. or Mrs." And he's like, "Okay."
This preschool teacher just got owned by a 3rd grader. Are you mixed up? Yes. Yes, you are. You are mixed up. You don't know why? Because you're not non-binary. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. Non-binary. I don't exist within the gender binary. I could just be all of the things. Are you mixed up? Oh my God. That kid, I need to get that kid on the show. He's got a quicker wit than Speedy Gonzalez. Like, I need that kid because that was an amazing thing to say. Because I guarantee you, he just had an innocence to it too. Are you mixed up? That's why even the non-binary chick was laughing, is because, are you mixed up? You got to call me Mix. You got to call me Mix because I'm non-binary. Are you mixed up? Yep. She absolutely is. Woo! Kooky. Oh, amazing. I love that even she posted. That's a self-own to post that. Okay, I got one more here. I want to talk about this one because I actually saw Ben Shapiro react to it, and it was from a podcast of some kind, and I just thought it was worth talking about. It's not about gender. I know a lot of them are about gender, and I like reacting to the gender ones, but I also want to, before I get to this last one here, I want to point out that because I produce my own show, and I've talked about this a lot in a lot of reaction videos that I do, I can't always, like, I'd love to be able to do blind reactions to things, like where I don't actually watch any of it beforehand. But because I produce it myself and I want to, like, kind of have an idea of the content I'm doing sometimes, and to see if it's actually something that I could react to or I had anything to say about, I can't always do that. And so if you guys have anything you want me to blind react to, and I will do it completely blind, I'll make it clear, email me at Speechless. I also wanted to shout out a big shout out to my good friend Andrea, who sent me an amazing email saying thank you for Thanksgiving. Thank you, Andrea, for sending me that email. Thank you, Check Cash David. I don't know if you're watching right now, but you sent me a text. There was plenty of followers and people that I've never met in person that have followed me since day one for this show. And you sent me in some way a happy Thanksgiving or have a blessed Thanksgiving, anything like that. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that I've been able to form this community behind this show and that we have a working friendship that would have never happened if I hadn't done this. And so it's God-given, and I firmly believe that. Thank you so much. Praying for you and for anybody who does anything like that. I firmly appreciate it. So let's get into this last TikTok here, though, because I think it'll be interesting to talk about. So let me get it pulled up here. Look and listen right here.
I've cheated plenty of times in my life, by the way, but I'm a reformed cheater. I would never do it again.
So never again.
Never again.
I mean, maybe.
No, I swear to God, I won't.
Okay.
Everyone deserves a one-time cheat.
Excuse me?
In their relationship or marriage. Just a one time.
I disagree.
You do?
100%. Yes. So it's safe to say you're going to cheat again.
Not when I have a ring on it.
What about engaged? You're just engaged. You're engaged for a year.
That's a gray zone.
Yeah, I know.
But once it's marriage, it's done.
Okay, so there's actually... She's got a little bit of truth to it. A lot of false, but a little bit of truth to it. And the fact that that the end of that statement is once it's marriage, it's done. Yes. marriage is the time in which like you are like, okay, this is my one person forever. So, right. I am ardently against cheating. And there's a few things. Okay, so there's a few things I want to remember and break down with this because so she starts off saying she's cheated, but she's a reformed cheater. Okay, reformed cheater is something that I have kind of a pickle with. Reasoning behind that is because I've always heard the term like once a cheater, always a cheater. And I have some level of a belief in that. Like if you're getting into a new relationship after you cheated on somebody in a previous one, if you are forthright with that person and saying, I did this in my past, I am ashamed of it, I am unhappy I did it, and that person that you are getting in that relationship with can accept that and believes you, and you believe yourself and you truly mean it, then there is a sense of being a reformed cheater there. But then this girl goes on to say, actually, I'm gonna focus on that one more second because what I want to say with that is because like some people are like cheaters aren't worth wasting your time with or anything, and to an extent I can understand that standard. If you want somebody that has always 100% been faithful, I totally get that. I mean that's what I want. I don't really want to date a cheater, but I also want to point out the fact that people do dumb things all the time. People make mistakes, and I blame no one for getting out of a relationship in which somebody was unfaithful with you. I'm not saying you should forgive them by any means, but all men, and I say men because men, from what I understand, are more likely to cheat. I know that this is about a woman who cheat. I'm just speaking more from a man's perspective. I guess you could flip-flop the genders in the statement I'm thinking of right now and it would still work, but all men can change. But it is for one woman that he will change. All men can change, but there's only one woman that he can change for. You know? Meaning that there could be a guy who's a rambling man. He went around, he slept around, he seemed not to care. He was rude, he was disgraceful, he lacked manliness and monogamy. But there could be something in which he realizes the errors of his ways, works on himself, and deserves more in the future. Same with a woman. Now, the biggest problem with this lady that I've showed in the TikTok is that then she comes after that and she says, I believe everybody should just get like a one-time pass to cheat. And she said in like a relationship or a marriage. Well, I heavily disagree with that. So did the guy that she was talking to. There shouldn't be just like, oh, well, you should try it once. It's not a new food. It's not a new food. It's not like, oh man, you've never had gumbo. Oh, I should try it once, see if I like it. No, it's not like that. Oh man, you've never cheated on your spouse? Well, you should just try it once, see if you like it. No, it's not like that. That's not how it works. But yet this girl is like, well, everybody should be able to try it at least once. Come on, like it's a once in a lifetime experience. No, it's not how it works. It's not how it works. It's not what you should strive for. There's nothing more precious in this world than the sanctity and bond between a monogamous relationship. There's there's very little that could be. I'm hyperbolizing a little bit because somebody could probably come up with an exception. But truly, there is something so precious and beautiful about a monogamous relationship, and to ruin that for a cheap thrill is incredibly saddening to me that anybody would push that kind of ideology. And that kind of circles back to a lot of the things about divorce and everything we were talking about earlier. But that's just my thoughts. That's just my thoughts. Jesse found my channel through MRM. That's awesome. Thank you for watching. Non-binary just created another situation of non-binary, binary, and non-binary. This lack of logical understanding. True. That's a great point, Raven. That's a great point, and I love it. Thank you for pointing that out. Oklahoma Chicken Cam, congratulations on 40 subscribers. Everybody go subscribe to Oklahoma Chicken Cam. Love Oklahoma Chicken Cam, and I love each and every one of you. And so I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed some of those TikToks that I reacted to. I hope you enjoyed the commentary that I provide. I know that I'm going to work to make this a better studio so I can bring you guys more and more great and fun and interesting content. I'm doing my best. I promise. And just don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share it with your friends too. If everybody here right now, I got like 10 to 15 viewers, somewhere around there. If everyone right now shared it with somebody, then it could go up even more. Share it with your friends. Comment what you think, as always, not only in the live chat comments, but anything in the regular comments too also pushes this up in people's algorithms. That would be helpful. Thank you guys so much. I am thankful for each and every one of you. I hope you had a blessed Thanksgiving, and I hope you have a wonderful week. There will be new content coming out this week, everybody. I know I took kind of a hiatus for the holiday last weekend, but God bless you. God bless America. And until next time, thank you so much for tuning in to Speechless.